There's been a lifeboat station at Dunbar in East Lothian for 200 years. A shout is traditionally the name for an emergency call-out. So let's have a look at a shout for help. Having received the emergency call, the Coast Guard activates the pager system. As the harbour here dries out at low water, the offshore boat has her moorings at Torness. It's a 6-mile journey from Torness and only takes 15 minutes from the lifeboat station to the boat leaving her moorings, a very slick and well-practiced sequence developed over the years.
Fourth Coast Guard, 4th Coast Guard, 4th Coast Guard. This is Dunbar Lifeboat, Dunbar Lifeboat, Dunbar Lifeboat. We have launched on service, over.
Gary, we'll have a range 8 miles bearing 043, that's 043.
4th Coast Guard, this is Dunbar Lifeboat. Yes sir, we have launched on service, approximately ETA 20 minutes. Do you require the crew list, over?
Dunbar Lifeboat, this is 4th Coast Guard, roger. Go to channel 0 and stand by.
The coxswain gives the command for the mooring to be slipped.
Yep, we're fine, Gary, go for it.
The Coast Guard has worked out the search area and transmitted that information onto the boat. Within minutes, they are en route to the incident. At all times on the passage to the search area, every option is covered and all equipment made ready. With the weather constantly changing and the squalls passing over the area, it will be difficult to locate the men in the rubber dinghy. Modern technology is one thing, but it's down to a well-trained crew. Once the dinghy has been found, get the 2 men aboard safely. The rescue helicopter arrives and the winchman is lowered. He guides the pilot forward onto the afterdeck of the lifeboat. Once he is aboard, he is in full control of the preparation and lifting of the survivors. Once the survivors are aboard, it only takes 10 minutes to Edinburgh Royal Infirmary, where they are checked over and given any treatment necessary. Another mission accomplished. It's back to the moorings at Torness. Once alongside, she is fueled up and cleaned. While this is being done, let's take a look inside the Trent-class lifeboat, John Neville Taylor.
Good afternoon, Brian. If you could just talk us round the working area of the lifeboat, I'd greatly appreciate it.
That's no problem at all. Okay, this is where the navigator sits. Obviously a very important job on the lifeboat because we need to know where we're going. We've got a couple of really good bits of equipment that help us. This is a differential GPS which can give us our position down to 1 meter's accuracy. Constantly updates as we move along. This feeds into this piece of equipment here, which is the plotter, which is actually a computer under one of the seats here. And the digital display here has a chart on it, which is the chart of the sea area that we're working in. As you can see, there's a red cursor on the screen and a green line. The red cursor is actually our position, okay, and that will move as we move along. The green line will be laid out behind us like, as it were, a piece of string, so we can see where we've been. Now, this is a very important piece of kit when we're doing searches, and what will happen is, if a vessel or a person is lost, the Coast Guard will calculate their position given the drift according to tide and wind, and then they will devise a search pattern for us using a computer program. Okay, so we use this bit of equipment an awful lot when we're actually involved in a shout, and also when we're on passage from one place to another, just as a navigational tool. But we also use paper charts. It's very important not to rely upon electronics because they do have a habit of going wrong, even though this kit's very reliable. So we have the chart of our immediate area here on the desk, and we also have a chart box up here which have all the charts that we might possibly need during a service. Now this is our radar display, which we use all the time when we're afloat. You can't see anything on the picture at the minute because we're alongside the quay, and it's not good practice to have the scanner working. But basically this gives you a picture of the surrounding coastline and identifies any vessels or radar targets which might be out there. Obviously we use this when we're searching. We use this for ordinary navigation because you can determine where you are using radar bearings. One of the other things we can do with this, which is very useful, is if we have a search pattern in our computer, which I've just described, we can bring this up on the screen as well, so you can see where you are actually navigating. When we're on passage at night out in the Firth of Forth, it's one of the busiest shipping lanes in the UK, so we have to be very aware of other shipping, and this is the primary function of this piece of equipment, is to keep us clear of approaching coasters and other vessels which are moving up and down the Forth. And we can plot their position as a target, which will tell us where they're going, how fast they're travelling, and whether we're in danger of having a collision with them. So it's a piece of equipment which is constantly monitored when we're afloat. Okay, this is the downstairs steering position of the lifeboat, which we would use in bad weather or if we were on passage. The controls are duplicated upstairs. There's slightly more down here than there are up there on the upstairs steering position. We have controls which operate the lights, the heaters and the windscreen wipers and so on. We have two tachometers which tell us the engine revs. We have the throttles obviously, which enable us to go ahead and astern on both engines, the wheel, and various other bits of equipment here. So the engine starts. This box here and these two switches enable us to trim the boat according to the sea positions. And then we have two bits of navigation equipment which give us depth and also an autopilot that we can connect through to the search navigational system over there. What happens these days on lifeboats is that the coxswain is encouraged to sort of sit back from actually steering the boat. Most of the guys that we have on the crew are competent enough to take the boat. The coxswain is more the manager of the vessel now. He will take information from the radio operator, from the navigator, from the radar operator, and he will give commands to the person on the helm. Right then, this is the survivor's cabin of the lifeboat, and we're up for it here. This is the bow through this door and the anchor locker. There's a little bit of a storage space here, okay, that and these are sea-tight doors. This is the area where if we have casualties that they would sit. We also use it for storing some rescue gear. You can see here these are special life jackets where dry suits all go in the water to help someone. There's a stretcher behind there. There's another sort of stretcher behind this row of seats, and there's a row of helmets that we wear when the weather's bad and we need them. We also have survivors' life jackets here that we insist people wear when they come on board the boat. You'll notice that all of these seats have got four-way safety straps on them, and although it's quite a safe place to be, it's probably not that pleasant if it's rough. There is a toilet on board the boat, although no one ever uses it because the rule is if you use it you have to empty it, and it's a bit of a struggle to get it out. Just behind yourself there is a little with a boiler and a space for preparing food if we're out on a long course.
My name's Kenny Peters, I'm the station mechanic at Dunbar, and welcome into the engine room of Lifeboat 1266, the John Neville Taylor. Right, well this is a MEN 2840 engine. She develops 850 horsepower and is twin turboed with a V10 block. This is an air filter, the intercooler, and this is the fresh water cooler. These boats were designed to do 25 knots, and on a good day sometimes they can reach that, but on this boat we're average 23.5 to 24 knots. Also fitted to these boats is a firefighting system. We carry two bottles, one is a primary and one is a secondary system. This here is the emergency stop panel to save us going into the engine room, and the ones with the red handles to the left are the fire extinguisher pools for the engine room, and the ones to the right are the fire extinguisher pools for the fuel tank space. It's an FM 200 firefighting system which is not harmful to the environment but which will put out any fire in the engine room. This boat has two engines. Each engine costs £80,000 each, but also costs £40,000 a time to overhaul. The engines on these boats are very complicated. We have two engines, two gearboxes. We also have other systems on the boat, one of which is a small generating set. So if we're working on the boat, to save running the engines to top up the battery power, we run the generating set. It's nice and quiet, and that provides us with all the power we need when we're working on the boat on the moon. Also fitted is a bilge pump running off each engine. It can pump out any compartment of the boat. The boat has 6 compartments, and each pump is connected to a chest where you open and close valves depending on what compartment you want to close. If you happen to lose an engine, that's why we're having a pump fitted to each engine so that any part of the boat can be pumped out. Also fitted running off the starboard engine on a direct drive is a fire pump. Also on board the boat we have 2 battery chests. One chest contains 8 batteries, 2 of which run all our electronic equipment for navigation, and the other 6 in that chest are run for lights and other equipment on board the boat. This is the fuel tank space of the boat. We have 2 tanks, one either side, each supplying each engine, or we can cross connect it so there's one tank supplying both. Each tank contains approximately 2,100 litres. That's enough to let this boat go for approximately 11.5 hours at full speed, burning 360 litres of diesel an hour. Right, so now you've had a look round the engine room. It's a very complex engine room, and now you've had your brief description. Thanks very much.
We must never forget that all the crews are volunteers, and as well as weekly training, they can be called out to an emergency, day or night. The Dunbar station has a record to be proud of, and without the support of the public in the area, it will be difficult to maintain the high standard demanded and achieved by the RNLI at Dunbar.